respond to Glassdoor reviews to build candidate trust. Just a couple webinar tips for you guys. Please dial in using your telephone or your audio mic and speakers. Also, if you have any questions at all, feel free to enter them into the Q&A pane, and we will get to as many of those as possible at the end of the session. And now I would like to just quickly introduce our featured speaker today. Lisa Holden is the Employer Engagement Manager at Glassdoor, and she's actually going to take it over and walk you through our agenda for today's short and sweet webinar.
All right, thanks, and thanks everyone on the line for attending today. We'll keep this pretty short and sweet, but I just want to go over Glassdoor quickly and kind of who we are and why job seekers visit Glassdoor, how to get started when it comes to responding to reviews and why it's so important to respond to reviews. And then we should also go over who should be responsible for responding, how often they should do so, and a couple of tips for actually responding to those reviews. So really quickly, this is what your average job seeker, or really anyone, sees when they visit Glassdoor, and that is people use reviews on Glassdoor to find out essentially more information about your company and your company's overall reputation. So they can rate the company overall. They can rate various individual workplace factors like culture and values, compensation and benefits, senior management, and so forth. And with 23 million members on Glassdoor, these reviews are getting plenty of eyeballs. And those are eyeballs that could also be reading your words as the employer and your response as the employer. So you see down at the bottom here where it says Add Employer Response, that's your opportunity to share your voice. And that's what we're really going to talk about today. So how to get started. First things first, you'll need a free employer account, and you can get that at employers.glassdoor.com. And what that free employer account allows you to do is a couple of very key things that help you respond to reviews very efficiently. And that includes setting up company alerts. So you'll be sent an alert anytime employees or candidates post fresh content to your profile, so you can go in and know when you should be responding. You can also flag reviews. So if you ever feel like a review doesn't meet our community guidelines, which are always available on Glassdoor, you can always flag that individual review and it will be re-reviewed by our content team. A free employer account also gives you the opportunity to monitor your reputation. So you can see things like the demographics of the job seekers actually visiting your page. You can see how your company rating has changed over time. And these are completely free analytics that are available to you within the Employer Center once you have that free employer account. And finally, with a free employer account, you can also invite your colleagues to respond to reviews as well. And this is something that we definitely recommend, really assigning a specific person to respond to a specific review, depending on what that review really entails. So once you have that free employer account, who should be responding to these reviews? Now, anyone at your company who is in a position to speak publicly on behalf of your company is a good person to assign to respond to reviews. So that can include the CEO, members of the HR team, members of the PR team, marketing professionals, or anyone in kind of a communications role who speaks on behalf of your company. And note that anyone within the company who responds to reviews as from the employer perspective will have his or her title appear next to that employer response. So while reviews on Glassdoor are anonymous, the employer response does contain a title if you include a title within your free employer account sign-up. So how often should I respond? Responding to reviews as often as possible obviously shows your authenticity, and it'll further build your trust with candidates. It might sound daunting to respond every day, but that's why we have those alerts, to really help you know when fresh content is there and know when you need to pop in, send a quick response, and really show that you're on it. We find that 90% of job seekers find the employer perspective useful when learning about jobs and companies. So make sure that you're adding that so people know as much information about your company as possible. Now, why should you respond to reviews? We know that 46% of Glassdoor members read reviews before even speaking with a company or person in charge of hiring. So this is really your opportunity to make a good first impression. They're reading the reviews, they're seeing the employer response, and they're getting this sort of comprehensive perspective of what the employee or former employee opinion is and what your response is as the employer. So responding to reviews kind of demonstrates to job seekers and current and former employees that you're interested in feedback and you take employee satisfaction really seriously. So what I would like to share with you all is that contrary to what you may believe, bad reviews are actually good for your business. Job seekers spend more than 5 times as long on a site when they interact with bad reviews because they want complete information. They notice when there are no bad reviews, and they can actually become suspicious. We know that 95% of consumers suspect censorship or faked reviews when they don't see bad reviews at all. So this is really an opportunity for ultimately authenticity. And you only need bad reviews in moderation, or you do risk damaging your brand. But really what you're trying to get at here is the real deal. So now for some quick tips to follow when you're actually going in to respond to those reviews. Our first tip is respond promptly. Now, a prompt response obviously shows job seekers and employees that you take feedback really seriously, and it quickly adds your perspective on any situation, depending on what the review says. So in order to respond promptly, we recommend you set up company alerts, which you can see here on the screen. You can set the frequency, you can set the type of content that you'd like to receive and how often you'd like to receive it, and this allows you to really stay on it. All right, so responding promptly shows that you care. We know that 71% of consumers who experience a quick and effective brand response on social media are likely to recommend that brand to others. So when you're thinking about responding, this is valuable information that you're sharing with the person who shared that review, but you're also essentially sharing that with that person's entire network. So they're more likely to recommend you when you respond to them, to their entire network.
Go over the analysis.
I'm getting a little bit of background noise. I don't know if anyone else is hearing that. Okay. I think someone went on mute. Thank you. All right, let's see. So a company I'd like to point out here is Salesforce. They've responded to 43 reviews on their company profile page, and they typically do this within a month of the review being posted. And it's no coincidence that 75% of their employees would recommend that company to a friend because they're showing such a high level of engagement, and we find that that's really important. So our next tip is to say thank you. It shows that you're listening. It shows that you're not coming from a defensive place, and we saw some research that showed companies with recognition programs are highly effective at improving employee engagement and see 31% lower voluntary turnover than peers with ineffective recognition programs. So when you start with thank you, it just sort of sets you up for success. I like this example from the American Red Cross. They start every employer response with a thank you for feedback. And as a result, employees are more engaged, and they see that the company really appreciates them, which I think is really valuable. We know that 83% of organizations suffer from a deficit in recognition, and this is by a study by Burson and Deloitte. And, this 83% is most companies. And so if everyone's suffering from this deficit in recognition, saying thank you publicly on a site like Glassdoor is a great way to set yourself apart and show everyone how much you appreciate employee feedback. So, begin every response with a thank you for, feedback as whatever kind of feedback it may be. So a question that I get a lot is, what if the review contains false information or false information from your perspective? And the thing to really remind yourself of is that everyone is entitled to their opinion. And as the employer, it's your responsibility to be gracious, first and foremost. So thanking someone for feedback and gently correcting an inaccuracy from the employer perspective is totally acceptable on Glassdoor. And now, just as a reminder, if you really do feel that a review contains inaccurate information or a false view of the company, you can always flag that review to be re-reviewed by our content team, and we're always happy to do that. Now, our next tip is be specific, address specific issues. Here's an example from Working Solutions, and they respond to 41% of the reviews posted on Glassdoor. And in this case that you'll see on the screen here, you'll notice this response specifically calls out an issue with communication that was listed in the review above it. It confirms the company's efforts to streamline it, it acknowledges the problem, and it really addresses, what this review is about and says what the company is doing to fix it. So, recognize that all companies face challenges, and you can let job seekers and employees know what you're doing to address any changes or issues, or simply that you're aware of it and you're working to fix it. A nice thing to do also, you can give reviewers an email alias or phone number where they can follow up and give you even more information, and that really shows all of your efforts to want to fix problems in a timely manner. Now, nobody is perfect. So this is something that's really important to acknowledge, is that every company has pros and cons, and negative reviews provide that opportunity for authenticity. I mean, think about how it is when you're looking on a review site to pick a restaurant, or maybe you're on Amazon and you're trying to pick out a new gadget. You're not reading reviews of those things expecting the perfect situation. No restaurant is perfect, no gadget is perfect. You're looking to figure out what features you can expect to really like and what things you may need to live with. And that's okay. You just want more information so you can make the best decision for you. And that's really what we're getting at here on Glassdoor, is helping job seekers find a company that is really the perfect fit for them so that they stay longer, which benefits you as the employer as well. So negative reviews really provide an employer with the opportunity to show authenticity and that you care about your employees. So, consider it free advice to make your company better, and being receptive to it in an open place like Glassdoor is a great way to confirm that authenticity from your perspective. Now, tip number 4 is obviously be authentic. Don't use staged responses. It's very easy to tell when you're being a robot and copy and pasting the same "thank you for your feedback" response to everyone. So make sure that you are clear, you are authentic, and you are addressing specific issues. One company that we've listed here is Symphony Teleca, and they respond to employees in a really authentic way. They call out those specifics. They show that the review was really read by an actual person who took that feedback seriously. Another one I love is from Zillow's CEO, Spencer Raskoff. He's showing how involved he is and how much he really values employee feedback. As the CEO, to take time to respond is really showing an authentic look at how much this company cares about what employees have to say. So when setting expectations up, when being authentic, you're setting expectations up front. We have found that 61% of employees say new job realities differ from expectations set during the interview process. That means that more than half of people have, false hopes or missed expectations when they start a new job, and they end up with buyer's remorse. And, from the employer perspective, that can be a really negative thing in the workplace. Morale goes down, people are maybe working less efficiently, and ultimately it can be a major problem in terms of retention. You're getting more turnover when people's expectations aren't being met. So, a great rule of thumb is to be really honest in your responses and acknowledge what the case really is at your workplace so that you're bringing people in who have their expectations set from the beginning. And finally, our tip number 5 is really utilize your reviews. These are pieces of information that can be very helpful to you in other places than just Glassdoor. Lithium Technologies is a company who takes their actual Glassdoor reviews and they post them to their homepage. They post them to their careers page. They use them in other collateral to say, hey, don't ask us, ask our employees. These are the people who have posted to Glassdoor anonymously, and this is what they really think. And they use those all over the place. And the other thing is, it's okay to focus on the positive. If you only reply to negative reviews, you're missing out on a huge influence of candidates by really highlighting the positive. So when someone leaves a stunning review on your Glassdoor profile, that's a great opportunity to reiterate that message, reiterate that you're so glad that they think, whatever specific things are really positive, and use that review in a lot of different places. And something that I'd really like to note on this slide especially is Glassdoor recently did a study which indicated the biggest factors that influence a candidate's decision to choose a new job were, for 75% of candidates, that was salary and compensation. For 54%, it was career growth opportunities, and 49%, it was location or commute. So if you see really stunning reviews in your Glassdoor profile about salary, about career growth, or about location, those are great things to showcase because they have a huge influence on the decisions that candidates are making right now. And finally, I'd like to just really quickly showcase a new program that we have here at Glassdoor called Open Company. You know, responding to reviews is a key step in becoming an open company, and this is a program we recently rolled out that allows companies to kind of confirm their standing as a truly authentic or transparent company. It's a completely free program, and companies basically complete a series of steps to confirm their commitment to transparency. These steps include things like encouraging employee feedback, sharing office photos, and of course, responding to reviews. That's a great way to confirm your transparency. And when companies take those steps, they get this great little badge for their company profile that gives this check mark that says this is a company that is committed to being transparent. And that's very kind of confirming when you're a job seeker looking to jump ship. You know, you want to know that a company is committed to that kind of thing. So if you're looking for more information about Open Company, you can actually find it at employers.glassdoor.com and take those steps to become more transparent. So I think we breezed through that pretty quickly, and we have plenty of time for questions. So feel free to write those just in the comment box on the side. I have a few coming in here I can get to first. So this is a question I get all the time. Do all reviews get posted to Glassdoor? And the answer is no. Glassdoor actually ends up rejecting about 15% of the content that comes into our site. And we have a set of community guidelines that we abide by in order to decide what we do and do not really want posted on Glassdoor. And so anytime a review comes in, it gets a two-touch review process, and that includes a technological review and a human touch. So a human person actually reads every single review that comes through on Glassdoor and uses our community guidelines to determine whether or not that is approved to be on site. Another question I have is, can I find out who posted a review? So no, Glassdoor is an anonymous career community, and you know we value the feedback that employees and former employees post so much that we would never reveal the you know, who those people are, because it's very important to protect their anonymity, which protects the authenticity and allows them to speak freely, and we value that, and we think that's very important. Let's see. Should you respond to older posts? Absolutely. You know, we've given a lot of focus to responding to reviews as soon as that content is posted, and that's really important to show, you know, that you're engaged. But there's nothing wrong with responding to old feedback. Maybe you're new to Glassdoor. Maybe you just got your free employer account. Go back and respond to old posts and show that you're engaged. Show, you know, maybe there's a review that says something used to be a problem that's no longer a problem. Now you've fixed it. So you want to respond to that review and tell them what has been fixed, how it's been fixed, and what the kind of results are. Do HR professionals usually respond? We do see HR professionals respond quite a bit. So really, what it's like to work there in terms of morale. That might be a good one for an executive team member to respond to or an HR professional to respond to. If the review is specifically about working on the sales team, for example, perhaps that should be one that is responded to by the head of sales. So really think about what the review is saying and what you want to say and who should say it back. But a lot of times this does fall on HR's shoulders because it's so valuable for recruiting, which is obviously a goal in the HR department. Let's see. Do you receive an email when someone leaves a review? So this is something you can set up in your employer profile. So as long as you have that free employer account, you can set up alerts so that you do receive an email alert every time a new review is posted. And will the recording and deck be sent to me? Yes, absolutely. So we will gather this information, pop it into an email, and you will receive that this afternoon. You can also visit Glassdoor for Employers blog, where we will post a recap of this and a link to the actual webinar recording. Oh, this is a great question. So if we respond, can the person who posted respond back? This isn't intended to be sort of this back and forth dialogue, so we believe that everyone should have an opinion, everyone should have a voice. So the employee gets an opportunity to write their opinion of what the company is like to work for, and the company should have the opportunity to respond to that, but each statement lives as its own entity, so it's not an ongoing kind of comment box. Oh, this is a great one. How do you get current employees to leave a review? So if you visit employers.glassdoor.com, you'll find a tab under resources for managing reviews. And this provides you with tons of tips and tricks on how to really manage reviews, but something that I'd like to direct you to on that page is an email template. And this is something we've written that you're more than welcome to use that simply explains briefly what Glassdoor is and encourages employees to share their candid feedback. So this is a template you can simply click to download and send it out to your employees. And this will actually help you in achieving open company status. So I highly recommend you do it. All right, well, I think we're going to finish a little bit early. It seems like that's all the questions I have at this point, but thank you again so much for joining, everyone. If you have further questions or we didn't get to yours, you can always tweet at Glassdoor or email me at lisa.holden@glassdoor.com, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. So have a great day, and make sure to check out our blog post for a recording.